All right. So as Chess mentioned, I'm Mika Pirneskoski from Lamor Corporation PLC. And here you can see our mission statement: Let's clean the world. So we're very aligned with what we want to achieve with the organization. And I think our vision really states what we want to achieve. I mean, we want to see a world with clean waterways and clean soil within our lifetime, and that really defines what we do. We work with both waters that is contaminated with different types of contaminants, as well as different types of contaminants in the soil. We portray ourselves as environmental solutions providers. I'm going to tell a bit about the history of the company and how we came around a little bit later. So what we really do practically, I mean, the company started in oil spill response. And how are we here today talking about plastics? I mean, we see plastics as just another type of hydrocarbon that is really contaminating the waterways of the world, the nature of the environment. But really the difference there is that whenever you have an oil spill, I mean, there's typically an owner with the pollution. I mean, it is an oil company, or it is a shipping company, vessel owner, vessel operator. But unfortunately, for the plastics that we find in the environment, I mean, it is hard to pinpoint that who's actually responsible for it, whether it's the consumer who's bought the product, or whether it's the manufacturer. And certain legislation have mechanisms to hold the manufacturers accountable, or at least partially involve them in the recycling activities. But unfortunately, I mean, we all know that the recycling rates are nowhere near where they should be. There's a lot of plastics disappearing from sort of the value chain. So it is being estimated that approximately 10 million tons, so 3% of the global production, roughly, is disappearing in the nature, whether that's the ocean or whether that's the environment as a whole. I mean, I've seen some figures that there are 50 million tons of plastics in the world's oceans, and when we look at the current increase in percentage terms, I mean, we can clearly see that it's only gotten worse. So it is the speed of contamination is increasing really rapidly. So that got us interested in this topic a few years ago. So we started working with the company who's doing river cleaning equipment. We utilize the expertise that we have from the mechanical recovery of oil. As mentioned, I mean, oil is one type of hydrocarbon, plastic is another type, and being typically more robust in its characteristic, it is even easier to collect plastic from the water than it is to collect oil. At that time, we really didn't understand the problem as thoroughly as we do today. I mean, for example, let's look at rivers. Maybe 20% of what you collect from the rivers is actually plastic. I mean, we have a project in India where there's a tradition that when someone passes away, his or her shoes are thrown in the river. So we are collecting a huge amount of boots and shoes and sneakers and different type of footwear. Whereas in other locations you have high organic content, you have leaves, you have twitches, you name it, you have a lot of organic content. So even though technically it is rather simple to collect the floating plastic, it comes with a lot of additional stuff that really makes it difficult. And when we go to ocean environment, I mean, it is like trying to find a needle in the haystack. So you need to be able to cover vast areas in the sea to collect reasonable amounts, and the way it's being done today, mostly by the NGOs, is that you trawl it. But when we look at the cost of one vessel that can really pull such a troll. I mean, we're talking about 5 to 15,000 USD per day. So it is not really economically viable. So we need to find mechanisms how everybody will be involved, and hence our mission statement, let's clean the world. I mean, the cleaning of the world is such a huge task and challenge for the whole mankind that we need to empower everybody to take part in this mission. Our values: passion, innovation, and trust. Passion, I mean, we're really passionate about what we do. Innovation for us is sort of a problem-solving mindset. So we always say that the greatest innovation that we have is a problem-solving mindset. We want to understand really what the client's problem is, and we tailor the solution to fit the client need in their own operating environment. And trust, we want our clients to be able to trust that when they contract Lamor, they receive the same high quality solution, service, or technology wherever they see us. So just a few minutes on the history slide. I mean, this is typically where I spend a lot of time, too much time, some people say. So we have a history of 40 years, and as I said, I mean, we started with oil spill response equipment early in the 1980s. We saw the trend towards servicization some 20 years ago, and started developing environmental preparedness services, basically taking care of the oil spill response needs of our clients. So we would build an environmental protection program, which would typically include technology, manpower, and in some cases, larger assets such as vessels, aircrafts to respond to any environmental incident. When we started doing this, I mean, we got involved in a lot of incidents, and at that time we were sort of an environmental protection company that we were really the experts in the first phase of the puzzle, but really didn't know much about the cleanup phase. But our clients kept asking that, hey guys, you should be involved with the cleanup phase of an environmental incident as well. So we started really developing capabilities that what to do when an environmental incident occurs, whether it's in maritime conditions, whether it's on shore. So we started developing water treatment solutions, soil remediation, soil washing solutions, and here we are today. We've really been heavily focused in South America since 2015, when we acquired a part of Corena there in Ecuador. We've used the Corena operations as a platform, our expansion in the whole of South America. We currently operate in Chile, Peru, Colombia, Guyana, Bolivia, and some small operations also in Brazil, and Guyana, if I didn't mention that. So we have a nice footprint there in South America. We see Ecuador as sort of the platform for the business in the rest of the continent, as well as operating 2 full-scale treatment centers there in the jungle. So we see it as a great way to test the new technologies, test the new processes, applications that we come up with. And I said, I mean, all of this know-how and experience, technology that we possess, got us thinking a few years ago that what can we do? How can we contribute to this plastic waste issue that we see both on land and in maritime conditions? I mean, if we look at the zero carbon targets or carbon neutrality targets, and we look at the petrochemical industry as a whole, I mean, the global plastics production today is roughly 350 million tons on an annual basis. So it is huge. It is mostly virgin raw material based. If recycling worked up to 100%, you could possibly mechanically recycle maybe 1/3 of that. So that's 100 million tons. So there's a gap of 250 million tons still in the equation. Maybe we can use some of the biomaterials, bio-raw material sources to cover some of that gap, but not all of it. So that's why we started really looking into chemical recycling. recycling of these harder to recycle plastic types. I mean, we all know that, I mean, with hard plastics, it is not really an issue to use it again. But then again, it is always downcycling. I mean, you can't really make higher value add products with the mechanically recycled plastic. If we look at, for example, food packaging industry, you can't use mechanically recycled plastic there. If we look at industries such as medical devices, I mean, there's no way that you can use that mechanically recycled plastic again. So we need to find a way to sort of return the once used plastic to its original liquid form, and that's where we found chemical recycling. We are currently in 21 countries. We've delivered projects in 118 countries altogether. In addition to our own country units, we are present in 80 additional countries through agents and distributors. So we are a truly global company. We IPO'd in First North Premier in Nasdaq Helsinki last year, and we were the first company in Finland, the first industrial company in the Scandinavia to receive Nasdaq Green Equity designation. So what does that mean in practice? I mean, our investments and our business is helping the journey towards carbon neutrality or net zero state, whenever that might be. I mean, different countries have different targets, different companies have different targets, but our business has been identified, and all the investments that we make have been identified and verified by a third party to help in the transition. Maybe I'll say a few words about this. So one of our largest project that we currently do is that we clean up the oil spill that occurred during the Gulf War in the 1990s in Kuwait. We are one of the 4 companies participating in the first part of the project. So the whole project is to clean up 114 square kilometers of the Kuwaiti soil that was contaminated during the project. So this is just to show that we are capable of managing these large-scale cleanup activities, cleanup projects for our clients. Plastic waste. I mean, a lot of discussion is going on around this topic. I mean, we touched upon it quite in detail already. We all understand the problematics. We understand the problematic of collection. We understand the problematic of how to utilize the plastic. I mean, whenever the plastic is wet, I mean, there is an energy consumption needed to typically clean it, dry it. So we believe that you need to be able to create a value chain where this problem is solved using sort of a more holistic approach. So whenever you do these cleanup operations, you need to be able to provide a solution, not just for the plastics, but all the trash that you collect. And we apply the same principle on land-based collection side, even though the first project for us is based on recycling the plastic part of the waste stream. We truly believe that in order for this to be a real business, we need to also find solution for all the other types of waste that is being generated at the same time with the plastic. As we all know, collection of plastic on a global scale is not very efficient. Today, it is typically in the mixed waste stream, and combining organic or bio waste with plastics basically makes it commercially unviable to anyhow recycle it. So therefore, I believe that this holistic approach of looking at how the waste segregation, waste collection is being organized We like to use the word capture. I mean, how do you capture the waste early in the value chain so that you do enough segregation early enough so you don't cross-contaminate the different waste streams? We came out with an interesting investment project a few months ago. We are building the first industrial scale chemical recycling plant here in Finland. The capacity in the first phase will be 10,000 tons per year, but we are already committed to expand that capacity to 40,000 tons by the end of 2026. Why do we start in Finland? Why do we start with 10,000 tons? We strongly believe that the plastic waste liquefaction infrastructure needs to be distributed. I mean, no matter how you shred it, how you bale it, I mean, the density is never going to be more than 0.5. So every cube that you transport, 50% of that is air. So it is not economically viable, and it's not sustainable. So we believe that the real solution is that you build a distributed liquefaction infrastructure where you liquefy the plastic waste as close to the source as possible. And that's what we are really experimenting here in Finland with these first 4 plants. We have a close cooperation with a pyrolysis technology provider called Clean Planet Energy from the UK. And what does their technology provide to the local municipalities? I mean, it enables, or at least helps them to reach their net zero targets for sustainable future. It will limit the local use of incineration and landfill plastic waste. It will lower the local emissions, and it actually creates new earning opportunities for the local grassroots waste pickers and their organizations, and of course employment. So it is an interesting established technology, very well suited for this type of purpose. Technical slide. So this is to highlight that first you do the liquefaction, and then what we call the post processing or post treatment, where you upgrade the oil to be suited directly towards petrochemical industry to be used in the crackers. It is a process where you produce the pyrolysis oil or the different fractions of the oil. Then you produce gas, which is then used to power the plant. So it is mostly a self-sustaining process. You typically need energy or gas just to initiate the process. Guyana, where we work with ExxonMobil, I think this is a good highlight how the world is really changing, and it's been changing for the past few years. Exxon is probably not known as being the most or the best corporate citizen. Let's use that word. I mean, they really haven't invested much in treating their drilling waste, for example. I mean, this is the first project where they actually treat the waste. I mean, previously in all of their other campaigns, they've basically used reinjection, where all of the waste generated in the operations is reinjected in the drilling well, or then a separate well is being poured for that purpose. So this is at least step forward for Exxon. And what we do there in terms of sustainability, I mean, we use thermal desorption process to treat the drill cuttings. We extract the base oil, and that base oil is then being used in the mud plants to produce sustainable drilling mud. We are really quite active in Southeast Asia as well. We just signed an agreement with a client in Bangladesh to provide both oil spill response and waste management solution. So this is waste management under the IMO's MARPOL Waste Management Act. So we are building a marble waste management facility there. In addition to that, we are providing it's called garbage collection vessel. And that's not very technical or scientific term, but that was the term used in the tender. So the vessel is able to collect both plastic waste and any other type of waste that will emerge in the port area. As mentioned, we work closely with the Finnish startup company called River Recycle. So their concept is river cleanup as a free service. So the idea is that they introduce river collectors in different heavily polluted rivers or waters and try to collect as much plastic as possible. Then that plastic is typically enriched with the land-based collection plastics. It is mechanically and chemically recycled and then used both in replacing plastic products, or then the other waste stream is going, or the raw material stream is going to the petrochemical industry to produce sustainable plastics. And as you can see, and probably you already know that the situation is the worst in Southeast Asia. If I'm not mistaken, 9 of the most polluted rivers in the world are in that region. So that is the reason why River Recycle and us, as we started targeting the Southeast Asian market first. I think we covered, or we touched upon some of the issues or the lessons learned during the process. I mean, what to recover, what not to recover. We really need to, whenever we start designing a solution, we really need to understand that what is there to recover? What is the typical composition of waste that you really recover? Because that will affect the choice of technology, the technical solution that we're going to offer. We need to understand the water body quite in detail. What is the current? What is the width? What is the depth? Is there tidal water? Does the direction of the river flow change, for example? What is the distance to solid ground, access to site or infrastructure in general? So there are a lot of variables. So we touched upon sort of the plastics trawling in open sea. So there you can really design a modular product. But when we go to these smaller applications that require in-depth knowledge and understanding of the operating environment, the only way to go is with a tailored solution. As Jess and Lucy mentioned, we've done a pre-feasibility study in Ecuador, in Quito. We're really working on that. We believe that there's great potential there, and let's see what the future brings. I think I'm more or less running out of time, so I'll wrap it up and give a floor to you,